630 CHED presents The Announcers. Opinion, personality, passion. The Announcers on 630 CHED, Edmonton's breaking news and conversation station.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of The Announcers. I'm Ryan Jespersen, sitting across the table from the smiling and engaging and always enthusiastic
Jalen Nye
and Andrew Grose.
Yeah.
Who's he talking to?
I don't know either. I'm
Did
not
the two of
smiling or
you
engaging.
go for dinner last night at Earls by any chance?
I drove by.
What did the parking lot look like?
Full.
Yeah, packed.
It was full.
Why, is there something going on with Earls?
1982, they opened their first
Yeah.
restaurant here in Edmonton. They've got almost 60 of them across Canada and 7 of them down in the United States included in the fold. And for those that haven't heard yet, Earls is now serving, quote, certified humane beef. And they can only get enough of it in Kansas. So it means there's no Alberta beef on the menu anymore. And people are choked.
There's a lot of people that are really, really, really upset about that, saying that, they're just, flipping the bird to, Alberta beef, to the people who raise Alberta beef, Canadian beef, I guess you could say all the way around. I don't know. You start kind of crunching it and you start looking at things and hearing a little bit more about demand and what they wanted and timelines. And you start to say, oh, I know it's not maybe a popular statement, but you start to see both sides of it. And you can maybe say, okay, Earls, if that's what you want to do, go for it. If you put a 3-year or 2-year request out to their suppliers and they turn around and didn't do anything about it.
Well, they put a 3-year request out to
Right?
their suppliers, but not to the Cattlemen's Association.
Well, not to the Cattlemen's Association, but is it their responsibility to go to the Cattlemen's Association or
I
is
don't
it to
have
their
a problem.
suppliers?
I take it I'll be on my own again this week. I don't have a problem with Earls deciding where they'd like to buy anything from.
Yeah.
I have a problem with deceptive marketing, and I believe that's exactly what Earls is participating in right now. Deceptive, misleading marketing. And I have a problem with that. And I should say as well, long before I was in radio and long before I was in comedy, more than 2 decades ago, I was in the trucking industry, and we saw this pettiness between Canadian beef producers and American beef producers habitually. It's been a fight and a battle that's been going on forever. As strong as you believe the Canadian cattle producers to be, the Alberta cattle producers to be, U.S. cattle producers are much stronger, much mightier, and have a great campaign program in which they solicit the help of government all the time with things like this, where, as petty, I can tell you that, and again, 2 decades or more ago, it was so petty as to have, if one truckload of U.S. beef was rejected at the border, hey, guess what? A truckload of Canadian beef got rejected at the border going the other way. There's been a battle between these two groups for a long, long time. And I'm not suggesting that Earls played into that battle, but they played into the concept that there's such a thing as certified humane beef. They definitely, whether knowingly or not, played into that.
But there is such a thing.
Yeah, but I mean, we could have such a thing too. I mean,
Yeah, well, the Spring Creek Ranch, which has supplied Earls for years out of Alberta, is certified humane. The only problem is that other Alberta ranchers have not taken the steps to become, quote, certified humane. And they've all got their reasons for not doing it. And they're insisting that we are humane, we are certified humane in our own way, and we adhere to all the standards they have. But the fact of the matter is, Earls Restaurants told them more than 2 years ago, they told their suppliers, we're moving in this direction and we will only serve beef that is certified with this sticker. And ranchers didn't act on it. And I don't know if it's a sense, and you know what, quite frankly, I don't care if people are upset at what I'm saying right now. I've been piled on this week. I've been called un-Albertan. I've been called a city slicker who doesn't know diddly squat about ranching. And you know what, quite frankly, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the insults. I make no apologies, and my track record speaks for itself. I eat Alberta beef. I buy Alberta beef. I celebrate Alberta beef. And don't you dare tell me that I'm any less of an Albertan than anybody else. I'm born and raised here. I'm proud to live here. I work here. I own property here. Don't you throw anti-Alberta in my face. This is on Alberta's ranchers who didn't believe that they needed to answer what their customer was asking for, and their customer told them because they refused to comply, they're taking their business somewhere else. And Earls has every right to do that.
and on that, we're in agreement. Absolutely.
So you're saying that there's deceptive marketing. What's so deceptive about it?
What's deceptive about it is, and by the way, no one's drawn this comparison before, but I'll draw it for you. Then I'll tell you what's deceptive. Do you remember when the whole world was going to turn metric? Do you remember that? And Canada did, and the United States didn't. And we kind of went, oh, I thought we all agreed. That's the same thing. It's very similar. It's very similar. So the Americans put together some kind of certification program and say, hey, we're going to go with this certification program. Canadians kind of look at it and go, well, we sort of meet those standards now, but why do we have to adhere to an American certification program? And then this happens. Earl says, well, we're going to go with this American-based, American drawn-up certification program. So either get with it or don't get with it. Well, why? Why do we have to?
Because your customer's asking you to.
This one customer is asking them to. And as I say, Earls can buy beef from wherever they want. I'm not telling any customer or any company how to do business. But to come out and say that the reason that we're doing this is because we want to support. Oh, don't ever do that.
This is my first day on the radio. Yeah. Sorry, guys.
That we want to support beef producers that humanely slaughter their beef. We want to support beef producers who do this, this, and this. The suggestion obviously is that Canadian beef producers don't do that. It's not that they don't do it. It's that they don't put that sticker on their meat. That's the biggest difference. I mean, do you know for a fact, and I'll tell you right now, I don't, that the practices of this company are any different than the practices of Canadian beef producers?
You're talking about ranchers that adhere to certified humane.
Right. The company that Earls is now going to buy the beef from, are their practices, are the slaughterhouses preparing their beef any different than the slaughterhouses? How?
They adhere to the recommendations of renowned livestock expert Dr. Temple Grandin. That's who this entire Certified Humane movement is based on. And people can check out certifiedhumane.org. And it has everything to do with how pregnant cows are treated, all the way through to how calves are treated, all the way through to how steers are loaded up onto trucks and handled and slaughtered.
I said slaughtering. So you're talking about taking it from the ranch to the slaughterhouse.
Exactly. So, for example,
I wanted to just start with slaughtering. Do they slaughter them any different at that plant than they do at, say, Cargill?
Yes.
I don't believe they do. How do they slaughter them differently?
Do some research. I mean, I'm not trying to be condescending, but I'm just saying, like, it's how many of them are loaded onto a truck. It's how they're handled coming off the truck. It's how much room they have to maneuver when they're waiting at the abattoir, and it's how they're actually treated all the way up to the point where, however they do it, we put a bullet in their brain, or we hang them upside down, or we cut their throats, or whatever we do. So it is different. But here's the thing: is like,
no, wait a second, before you move on from that. Because part of that certification program covers things other than beef, for example. And I happen to know that for chickens, they take a look at how many chickens can be in a pen at a time. And it's a difference of, and I'm making this up a little bit, but I believe the number is that it has to be less than 15 in a pen or 15 in a certain square area. And it turns out that Canadians put 15 and a half on average. So it's like, well, they don't meet the certification. There isn't this massive difference where they coddle the cattle or coddle the chicken or the pork and say nice things to them, play music for them. It's a slaughterhouse. And most people who go to any slaughterhouse, including the one that Earls is buying from, because I guarantee you any slaughterhouse would be shocked at just how violent a slaughterhouse is. But it's our food. As soon as you start thinking about animals as pets instead of a source of food, you're going to fall into that trap where you go, this is totally inhumane. Slaughtering animals is ugly. It's not a pretty thing.
Of course it is. But that's why I think people are asking, and I'm talking customers, are asking their service providers, in this case restaurants and bars, to give them the assurance that it is as humane as possible. And if you want it to be as humane as possible, what do? We look to governing bodies and we look to certification. And without that, this is not an attack on Alberta ranchers.
But this isn't the U.S. government saying that these are our requirements.
Well, sure, but it's like the exact same sort of thing. If I'm a certified scuba diver, okay? I'm PADI certified. There are 15 different certifying bodies for scuba divers.
Yeah.
I will not dive at a shop that is not a PADI shop because I am a PADI certified diver for a reason. It's the most stringent code of conduct. It's the most stringent training you can get. Now, is there some guy that lives in Hay Lakes, Alberta, that would be a wonderful scuba diver without any training, and he could stack up his safety record against a PADI certified dive master? Maybe. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to dive with the PADI certified dive master. Thank you very much. Sure. And the dive shop that chooses to trumpet how great their instructors are, though none of them are PADI certified, they can live or die with that insistence that they do business the way they want to do. But as a customer, I'm demanding PADI certification.
Absolutely.
Right? So
Absolutely.
you're not, if you want to open a dive shop, you don't have to be PADI certified. But if you want to be economically viable moving forward, I would recommend it.
But as I say, I'm talking about the marketing of this concept as opposed to the actual concept. So, for example, how many roommates a cow has before it gets slaughtered? Does that really improve the taste of the beef? Because
Well, they believe that it
what
does.
Earls is saying.
They believe it does. That the less stress that the animal is, it turns around and it's better tasting meat.
I would like to meet and shake the hand of the individual that can eat a steak and go, that cow was stressed.
Well, Mo Jessa, the president of Earls, has said that we have done blind taste tests. And he said, when you taste our new beef offerings, which they rolled out on the menu this week, when you taste the antibiotic, hormone, and steroid-free beef, you will taste a difference. And Andrew, they believe in it so strongly that they knew they were going to weather this storm, and they decided to go ahead with the move and make it anyway. And that, to me, speaks to the conviction that the company has. I mean, you know, our Alberta ranchers do work that we can be proud of. And I ate Alberta beef last night, and I'll probably eat it again tomorrow. And I personally exclusively buy Alberta beef. It's important to me. But the insistence of a rancher that his or her beef is as good of quality as the certified beef, but I don't need to get certified and I expect to keep my customers, in this case Earls, to me is a head in the sand approach. They told you 2.5 years ago what they wanted. You had plenty of time to get certified. You decided not to because you don't think you need it, and now you've lost Earl's business. Is that Earl's fault?
No, Earl can choose to source their supply from wherever they want. Let me ask you a question, just out of curiosity, as I like to do. A lot of beef comes over from Australia. A&W, in fact, buys some of their beef from Australia. What if Australia comes up with a certification program tomorrow? Should Canadian beef producers adhere to that?
I don't think Canadian beef producers care what Australia is doing. I think Canadian beef producers care what their buyers expect of them. Okay. And if their buyers expect that they're certified from some Australian standard, then I guess they probably want to do it if they want to keep the business. Here's the thing. I mean, Earls is not a big enough account to wipe out the Alberta beef industry.
Certainly not.
It's negligible. We're talking on average 2 million pounds of beef a year. That's about 2,700 head of cattle.
Let me stop you there for a second because you're absolutely right. Earls can stop buying today and it will not affect the Alberta cattle producers or Canadian cattle producers. But the implication that there's something horribly wrong with Canadian beef
Who's saying
could
that?
have an impact.
Who's saying that?
You've got to be naive not to think there's an implication
Well,
there.
that's what he's
Come
saying.
on, Andrew.
He's saying what he is saying, and I think it goes back to the marketing or where you're coming from on this one. Andrew believes that by saying that it's not certified humane, that there is something wrong with the beef.
Right.
That
Canadian beef
and
is
humane is
inhumane,
humane is a
full of
very
chemicals.
strong word, right? And
Yeah.
that's where the concern is on his part.
Yeah.
I get it.
If they were to simply say that we've found a producer who will give us a higher quality or for whatever reason we want to work with this group, then we wouldn't be talking about this right now. The fact that they've done an ad campaign when I don't remember the last time I actually saw an Earls commercial makes me wonder if this isn't just some big publicity
Okay, but
stunt.
A&W did the exact same thing when they, hey, steroid-free, antibiotic-free, whatever, and
Here's the
we
difference.
didn't lose our crap about that.
Because most people don't know, as they didn't know with Earls, where do they get their beef now? Where does A&W get their beef now? A&W still sources some Canadian beef. And they were never exclusively Canadian. So it's not like they said, we're going to stop buying Canadian beef. That's what Earl said. We're going to stop buying Canadian beef.
I talked to Kate Simpson on Friday morning, and if you'd like to hear the interview in its entirety, you can find it at 630ched.com. Asked her all the questions, including, was this a move to appease Muslims because it's halal certified beef? We're seeing red herrings and smoke screens all over the place. Let me read you Earl's statement. We feel it's important to share the thinking behind our move to serving only beef raised without the use of antibiotics, hormones, or steroids, as there has been a passionate response to our initial announcement. First of all, we've always prided ourselves on giving our guests what they want, and we've repeatedly heard that more conscious sourcing is a top priority for our guests. Under the Certified Humane designation, not only are all animals raised without the use of antibiotics, added hormones, or steroids, but they're also brought up on farms that are held to a detailed list of agreed upon ethical guidelines from birth to pasture to pen. If an animal gets sick and needs antibiotics, it receives treatment, and it's then moved into a different supply chain and sold as conventional beef. At this time, there simply isn't enough raised without antibiotic beef in Canada to meet our demand. But when this changes in future, we will absolutely revisit our suppliers. We stand by our decision to make the leap and become the first and only restaurant group in North America to serve beef that is raised without the use of antibiotics, hormones, or steroids and is certified humane as part of our ongoing commitment to conscious sourcing.
So all of that is predicated on the idea that they can only get their beef from a single source. There are those in Alberta specifically and in Canada in general that are certified humane. There are certified humane producers.
There's one.
Okay. So why can't Earls buy from them?
They did, they have bought from Spring Creek Ranch for years up until a month ago.
Okay.
Up until a month ago, when Spring Creek Ranch hit a barrier and could not even supply enough beef for the Edmonton Earls restaurants, and for 2 weeks, Earls had to buy steaks from another source. Now, when you announce restaurant-wide, 59 locations, that you're exclusively serving certified humane beef, do you think you can swap in steaks from Safeway for a couple of weeks till your suppliers get their chain problems figured out? Of course you can't. This is on the supplier. They can't meet the need, and Earls had to look elsewhere. I don't see how that's on anybody but the suppliers.
Why are they going with, you seem to know so much about Earl's supply chain.
Well, because we talked about it for 4 days.
Why are they going with a single supplier out of the United States?
Consistency.
That's a red
Consistency.
herring. That's a red herring right there.
What do you know about running 59 restaurants?
I don't know anything about running. Oh, now you are being condescending.
No, I'm not.
You don't know. What do you know about running 59
restaurants? You're calling it malarkey.
restaurants?
I know a lot about the fact that if you say that our steak has to conform to certain things, it's got to look like this, it's got to taste like this, and we want it from one supplier.
This is the only one company in the world that can do all of that for them.
This is the only supplier out of Kansas that has the capacity under the Certified Humane designation to supply Earls with 2 million pounds of beef a year. Yes.
Why? So they have to go with a single supplier.
Well, they choose to. Like what? Like
I say,
you want to sit down with the CEO or the president of Earls and start throwing up? Well, you know what? I got a bunch of buddies together, and he's going to get you 80 pounds, and he's going to get you 300. Like,
I don't know what your background is. I know you worked at Earls at one time. I don't know what your business background is. But when you hear about a single supplier, do you know what should pop into your mind?
Walmart.
Price should pop into your mind.
Yeah.
This is not based, I don't believe, on putting a different, higher quality or a more humane product on the plate. This is talking about getting a deal. That's what they're talking about.
Maybe it is, Andrew.
Because it costs more to go to more than one supplier.
Sure. So, you know why? Because it's not as efficient.
Don't come out with an ad campaign that say we're doing this specifically because we care about our customers.
Like,
don't come out with an ad
Earls
campaign
is the first restaurant that's taken steps to improve its bottom line and its efficiency and its quality.
Of course not. But they're the first ones in my memory that have come up and said blatantly that we're doing it for this reason when clearly you're not probably doing it for that reason.
What
you're doing it to get a better price.
In the history of restaurants.
Or let me tell you something else.
Hi, Jalen.
Okay. Hey guys, yeah. I'm ready to step in case anything's needed.
We're all still friends, by the way.
Absolutely. Well, that's yet to be determined.
I'm taking you to Earls for lunch after this.
And I would go and just not have to meet. Here, another red herring argument that I've heard, and I heard it on your show, I believe, on a Friday was, and I think you even tweeted about it, that, well, wait a second, if you don't support Earls, there's all these other things that you're not supporting that are supplied by Alberta producers. That, in my mind, is a red herring argument.
How so?
Well, I'll give you an example of Ched. Let's say that Ched were to say, moving forward, we're only going to hire American announcers. We're going to get rid of our Canadian announcers, get only American announcers. But listen, hey, don't everybody panic that we're not using Canadians or Albertans, because our paper clips are still going to come from a supply store in Edmonton. Meat is a pretty major portion of their budget.
Alberta's pork producers the paper clips of industry?
Well, I'm saying that you're taking a major component of what you buy that you have always been buying Canadian, and you're taking it away, and then you're arguing that, no, we didn't take everything away, though.
The suppliers can't meet the demand. The suppliers can't meet the demand.
All right, but this is a supply chain that goes all the way back to the ranch, and the Cattlemen's Association was never told of Earl's needs. Correct?
Whose fault is that? Is it Earl's fault?
I don't
the
get how this is
Cattlemen's
Earl's fault in any
Association,
way.
Again.
Or was it the beef supplier saying, "Hey, this is what they want. Hey, heads up, here's a little red flag for you. This is what they're." Wouldn't that conversation be had somewhere?
Well, at the point at which Earls realizes that the Cattlemen's Association was never notified of this certification need, wouldn't Earls at that point, as a responsible Canadian-based company, say, all right, let's give you a year then to get this certification done? Wouldn't they?
Why? Earls is running a restaurant. It is not Earl's job to prop up the Alberta beef industry. It's not Earl's job at all. And I would defy anyone that's listening right now, your favorite place to buy a steak. And some of you can answer the question, and good on you if you can. Your favorite place to buy a steak, your favorite place to go restaurant. Tell me the name of the ranch that they get their beef from. Off the top of your head, without Googling it. 95% of us would have no idea. I used this example on my show on Friday.
Then why did Earls come out? And again, I've said from the beginning of this conversation, Earls can source their meat wherever they want. But why did they come out with a marketing campaign that suggests Alberta beef specifically is inferior to the beef
This
they're
is
buying?
such an inferiority complex. It's such an inferiority complex. It's like, okay, let me give you an example that we can all relate to here. I used to host a fundraiser every year at a school in Edmonton to fund their music program. And I did it pro bono, and I took great pride in it every single year. Well, I never got a call from them this year. And I wondered why. And I went on their website, and I saw that they've hired a CBC announcer to host the fundraiser this year. And they announced her as our favorite MC, Trisha Estabrooks.
Oh, you just said her name.
Yeah.
I don't know
You know
who that
why?
is.
Because I'm secure enough
Yeah.
to say the names of other service providers in Edmonton. Does that mean that I did a crappy job, or does that mean maybe that they're pretty excited about this year's edition and they're doing some marketing to get people to come out and check out the event?
Great. Let me answer that question for you. If the website instead said, welcome this year our new MC or our MC, blah, 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 who we assure you will not be dropping F-bombs every other word and peeing on the plants. Would that suggest that possibly that had happened in the past?
Well, Andrew, if you'd like to take that question and apply it directly back, and I love talking to you, and apply it directly back to what we're talking about, then Earls has done exactly that. Earls has gone on the record in saying, we will only serve beef raised without the use of antibiotics. Does that imply that the majority of cattle ranchers in Alberta do use antibiotics in their beef? The answer is yes.
That you're flip-flopping between the two arguments that you like. The antibiotics is one argument. Humane, certified humane
No,
is the other.
it's part of the...
We are only going to buy beef that has been
Jalen.
certified humane.
Yeah.
So what does that suggest?
But
If
this
they
is a
can't find
brand
it in
name. It's
Canada-
like Alberta Beef. Everybody that's fighting for Alberta Beef right now, did you know that to have Alberta Beef stamped on the package, it only has to be slaughtered and processed in Alberta, not born and raised?
That's right.
Does anybody know that?
Yeah, of course.
It's a
Well,
stamp.
I
It's
would-
a meaningless stamp.
I would bet a lot of people don't know that.
I would bet 80% of people don't know that.
The difference between those two would be this.
Okay, boys, wrap it up.
Getting cattle from Saskatchewan that says Alberta beef because it was slaughtered in Alberta is one thing.
It sounds to me like deceptive marketing.
Boom.
The other, well, let me make my whole argument then. To suggest that certified humane is something we can't find in Canada suggests that we don't humanely produce beef in Canada. But I will tell you this. I know we have to wrap up. Unlike other talk shows like this, unlike every other talk show in North America, unlike this, our show does not cause cancer. There you go.
It's true. Now there's marketing genius. I want to assure you all that right after this, we're going to partake in a group hug,
Well,
I don't think so.
and then we're going to go shopping
No,
for
I need
Alberta
some
Beef.
time apart.
maybe I can be involved.
Thanks for tuning into this edition of The Announcers. We have a lot of fun doing it. We hope you've had fun listening. You can catch Andrew and Jalen weekdays from 2 to 6. I'm on from 9 to noon. Have a great weekend.